Love between humans is just not easy, and without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. If you haven't yet taken the quiz to see what keeps you from having the best love and sex of your life, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. You'll get a personalized report of your strengths and challenges in the 5 crucial areas that lead to your most fulfilling and exciting love and sex life. Go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz to find out. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Practicing Love, how to have the best love and sex of your life after 40. I am thrilled to be here today with an amazing couple, and they are the hosts of the podcast, The Art of We. And I highly recommend checking out their podcast after this one. And Krista and I just recorded an episode recently that was exciting and fun. So definitely do that. And these two, I met Krista at least a decade ago in the conscious communication, authentic relating world. And we've facilitated together. And then Will, you came into Krista's life, and I know how you've been practicing over the past decade with each other. And you have a really unique, well, I don't know. I want to say, I don't want it to be unique, but I think it is unique. a way of seeing relationship and engaging in relationship through the practice of agreements. And I often bring this into my client sessions, and we tend to have to go meta or go backwards in time or space sometimes. So, if a couple is coming in and they're having a conversation, there are times where I ask, do you have any agreements about the way you're talking to each other, or the way you're treating each other, or the way you're viewing each other, or any of these things? I don't think I've ever had anyone say yes. So I love what you're doing. It makes a profound impact on relationships. And I'm excited to talk about it today, as well as some of the struggles that have led you to create your version of agreements. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us, Shana.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shana. Great to see you again.
Yeah. Can maybe both of you, maybe Krista, you can go first and just give a little bit of a sense of anything you want to say about your current relationship with each other, or any history that's led up to this relationship that feels, interesting, or something you want us to know.
Great. Current flavor of relationship. I would say I'm really excited about where we are in our partnership right now. We've had these times in our partnership that have really tested us as a couple, as collaborators. How are we going to show up for this? How are we going to make it through this? We've only been together since 2017. We met in 2017.
Okay. So that's what, 5 years? No, that's 8 years already.
8 years. Yep.
Yeah.
And we've been married for almost 6 years.
Amazing.
So, and to some people we're new, to other people we're not so much, but, I feel like, you're bringing up the agreements part, which we'll talk more about, but there's been something in this partnership, this specific partnership for us, that has been so rock solid, unlike any other partnership that I've had. And I would attribute it to 2 things. One being that we really orient towards, why are we in partnership together? So it's kind of like we have a really clear a really good, clear purpose. It's not just because we love each other. And then we have these agreements that help us repair conflict and stay connected and stay in alignment with what we're up to together.
Beautiful.
So I'm proud of us right now. What's that?
I'm excited to dive into that after we hear from Will, because knowing why you're in a relationship together is also something a lot of couples don't think about.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was a new concept for me when I met Krista. On our first date, in November of 2017, we shut down the restaurant, having this 4-hour conversation about the need for partnerships that have a bigger purpose than just our own private love oasis. And so it made sense to us that if you're going to set big goals for impact in the world, that you would need a really strong set of agreements to help move you forward and keep you moving. And as Krista said, help you repair ruptures really well along the way. So, and that question about what are you up to as a couple is something that, you see a lot of blank stares often when, you ask people about that.
I'm loving imagining you two being in that restaurant together, having that 4-hour conversation, and both of you just feeling so met, I can imagine, by the other. Yeah. And how amazing that is, because you both, to me, are such stellar people that you've, had high bars for who you were going to be in a relationship with. So I love seeing that you met each other.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Was there more, Will? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I was just going to say the agreements kind of flow from what you understand you're up to together as a couple, just like any relationship.
Yeah.
So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good context, right? That the agreements don't just come out of nothing. They come out of the sense of purpose and what you're up to together. And, oftentimes I ask people on the podcast, okay, what's something you've struggled with that you're now practicing? Because I see this as a practice rather than, we just overcame, anything and everything we were struggling with, and now we're healed or now we're done. I think it's really important for people to see couples and individuals who are, in this field and also still struggling to make things work. Hold on one second. Okay. I think it's important for people to see that even couples who are practicing conscious communication and who are leaders and facilitators, we still struggle. Nobody's perfect at this.
No way, Jose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we may not dive exactly into, what your specific struggle is, because we're going to cover agreements, I also just want to appreciate that you already acknowledged there have been times and phases when you had that sense or question of, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get through this? This isn't always easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think I would say, Will, if you would agree with that we're in that right now, not in our, we're relationship. We're not our relationship isn't easy, but there's just things that are being thrown at us in life that, okay, this is hard. And if we weren't committed to staying connected and to this partnership, I think it'd be, I don't know, I would probably go over into an I space and just try to handle and deal with things myself rather than the commitment of staying connected to you, Will, which can be hard when stress is here for me.
Can you say a little more, Krista, about the I space versus the we space? Because some people probably haven't heard that distinction.
Yeah. So on the Art of We podcast, we really talk about the we being an entity that includes both of us, but it also transcends both of us. So if we can talk about it, the we of us, the couple of us, there's other ways that people point to that. I feel like we're really practicing that when we're in relationship with it, when we're committed to that versus maybe more of an I space, here's what I need in this moment versus here's what we need in this moment. Mm-hmm. That's a good way to represent the difference between the two.
Yep.
Or here's where I'm right and you're wrong, Will, versus, okay, what are we obviously have differences. How are we holding them together? And how do we find our way through that versus getting more positional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine, but tell me if this is true, that sometimes going into the I space, it could be more pulling away or, right, just trying to handle something on your own as well.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, Will?
Well, I tend to be long-winded, so I'm going to try to watch myself here, but I love attachment theory as it relates to what we're talking about right now, because going inside of ourselves, could be seen as, working well at a certain developmental stage where we need to learn how to soothe ourselves. We need to learn how to be with our discomfort in ourselves. And it's really important. But I think that the more, and I'm not alone in this is not my idea, but I subscribe to the view that the more advanced, mature, the next milestone that a lot of people, in my experience, never get to is practicing regulation between me and my partner, so that I know how to not only soothe myself in that kind of, the research term is auto-regulation, like going inside of ourselves, but I also develop the muscle of how to rely on the other person for regulation.
Yeah.
So in any given moment, the one who's more regulated, hopefully someone is, can be called on.
Moments.
There are those moments.
Either
right?
person is.
There's no adult here at all, anywhere. Those are tough ones.
Yeah.
And that's where, maybe a moment of going inside of oneself and practicing mindfulness and presence and care and compassion for ourselves might actually be able to elevate that level of capacity that we can then bring for our partner. But in any case, I think it's an interesting opportunity that in, maybe you could say, better circumstances or healthy relational environments as children, which nobody I've ever met had, you learn that. You learn how to do interpersonal regulation with your persons.
I just had a moment because yesterday I actually had this miracle worker do some body work on me, and I was laying there in tears. And I had this realization that I've been trying to work with trust, and how do I trust that everything's going to be okay? And I realized, like, there's no part of my human lineage that really got trust and that then I could co-regulate with, right? Like, we have Holocaust survivors. It's like, so when I think about co-regulation or interregulation with my parents, that never happened. So now I'm having to learn to regulate myself. So I love this. My partner and I practice this too. It's like, right, how can we come to rely on the other and also be generous and offer that kind of regulation rather than reacting to each other and that downward spiral of, implosion.
We've all been there.
Hard.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad. And I think very true that there are very few people I've met who felt truly loved or supported or regulated as a child. Susan Campbell, do you know Susan Campbell, who wrote Getting Real? She's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I have that book by my bed. I love that book.
She wrote many books. Yeah. The 5-Minute Relationship Repair. I had a conversation with her, and she's like the one person I think I've ever talked to who was like, oh yeah, well, I felt so loved when I was young that, I don't have some of this stuff that other people have. And I'm like, wow. Oh my God, the blessing of that and her.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, though, we can relate to people when they talk about things like this. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And the good news is, this is you can learn this, and through practice in adulthood with the right partner. And I think we need to have a willing and able dance partner to do it, but we can do it. And that is a hopeful, piece of information in my world anyway.
Yeah. And willing and ableness, right, is really important. I know a lot of people who are in relationships, and then when they want to grow, if their partner isn't willing, it's really hard to make that work. So
100%.
That's a big one. Yeah.
And that goes back to what are you up to as a couple? And that was one of our big commitments to each other in the beginning. Is one of the things we're up to together is to heal every injury that there has been in the past.
Ooh, wow.
And we're there to do that work together. So that kind of erases this, well, geez, like Will is so fucked up. Like, why can't he just get his shit together and show up like a man in this relationship or whatever? It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm trying. But there are all these other things that needed to be addressed too.
I mean, I feel like I could just sit here in awe of that. So you're saying part of the purpose of your relationship is to heal every wound that you've had. And we know that these wounds are healed in relationship because they're formed in relationship. So you two are really standing in for, the healing of the other. And that is really incredibly profound because, like you said, instead of what's wrong with my partner, why are they like this, the blame, the shame, any of that, when it's in this context, there's so much more compassion and understanding.
I think another thing that it brings too is in previous relationships when I wasn't as skillful and we didn't know what we were up to and we didn't have agreements, I would question compatibility because I was like, well, this is just the way that he is. And, is that actually going to work for me? Versus, wow, there might be something deeper going on here that we can look at and address together if he's willing and able. And I think the question of compatibility can come up in ways that are kind of sneaky versus a deeper understanding of, yeah, we all have these woundings, we have these traumas. I have younger parts of myself that really need support. I don't want to put it all on Will, but of course, I don't want to be codependent. But like you said, Shayna, they are healed in relationship. And if we're not doing that with our partner, then who are we doing that with?
Right.
We are doing it with other people. Sorry, we are doing it with other people too, like our girlfriends and our guy friends for sure. But if we aren't doing it at home, it's like, okay, well, what are we up to there?
Well, yeah. And many people are not healing with their girlfriends or guy friends or, right. I think there are many people who are not in the conversation of growth or healing or this idea that you're bringing here, that this is part of what relationship is for. And it could be a big part of what relationship is for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
One way that we talk about it too is to be for each other's greatest success and greatest expression. Even when it's scary, like earlier on, I got Will's more of the external facing being of the two of us. And I've been a little bit more internal facing. So Will, I'd say you've had a lot more, people know you a lot more out in the world than they know me. And early on, that was a little bit intimidating to me because I was like, well, if I'm for your greatest expression, and what if it gets really big? And then what if like you don't need me anymore? Or there's these little parts of me that would get scared about that. But another thing that we started in the very beginning was being willing to risk everything for love.
Whoa, and I just got chills.
This is when we were first dating after that night, that first date. And Will had just come out of a 20-year marriage. And I, at the time in my life, I had a partner who suddenly died 2 years before. And I wasn't willing to compromise myself for a relationship. And neither was Will. We're either going to have the most extraordinary relationship or we're not going to do it at all. And in order to do that, we have to be willing to risk everything or gamble everything for love. And which means I'm going to bring myself, and I want you to bring yourself, and the wounds and the joys and the full package. And let's see how we can show up for that. And can we create something out of that?
I just love that every word out of both of your mouths. I'm like, that's profound too. Not only is it the agreements, but the purpose. And then, that sense of being willing to risk everything for love. Again, that's not in the common vernacular.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was another layer that was really, and still is really interesting for us to explore, which is that the healing of the wounds is not, I come from a therapy background, and, so I provided therapy for many years to people. And one of the things I didn't ask people often enough was, why heal? Why deal with these injuries? Why get through this? For what purpose? Like what's the mission? What's the purpose of your life? And so there is a sort of, it can become kind of like self-referential and what's the word? Solipsistic. When the purpose of healing isn't for some bigger reason. Like it could be something like, I just want to be there for my children, right? And not be a mess with them, or it could be anything. For me, when I met Krista, it was like, well, we want to put all of our energy into making an impact in the world that leaves the world a better place, using the gifts and talents and privileges and all the things that we have. And so healing the injuries was for the purpose of that bigger expression. Yep. So it sort of pulls you forward of like, oh, that's why I need to do this work, because I know that I'm limiting my capacity to be of service in the world if my injuries are still in the way.
Yeah. Yep. So beautiful. Right. It can become very insular and self-referential if it's, okay, we're just healing for our own sake, but within the context of a bigger purpose and having a better impact on the world and being in service of more love. That's really inspiring. I feel like it's been a long time since I've had this, that the two of you are saying things and I'm like, it's almost like I can't even find the words because you're breaking my brain open in these ways where it's like, whoa, we could talk for a year about that. It's so deep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I want to go back to is so many people when they're thinking about dating, a lot of the clients I've had, there's this worry, can I really ask that question? Can I really say that on the first date? And I'm like, yes, you can. Don't waste time in the shallow waters. Why bother? Unless you're really inspired by that. I'm not inspired by that. I know you two are not really inspired by that. So I guess I'm just curious if there's anything you can say about the beginnings, like how you had the courage to just lay it all on the table like this. Not a way that most people start.
Yeah, it's such a great question. I'll dive in and then you can go, well, how does that sound? For me, I had the benefit of being in a place where I was like, if I can't have the kind of relationship that I want, I don't want a relationship.
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't a beneficiary of Mark's death. Like, I'm not saying that his death was a gift, but I'm saying that I was in a place where I was like, either it's going to be freaking amazing or I'm not going to do it at all. And so for me, I had my own personal internal agreements about how I was going to show up for myself and inside of the dating scene. Yeah. And if the person that I was engaging with or dating couldn't be with, it's kind of like what you're saying to your clients. Like if they can't be with the truth of what's moving through me and how I'm wanting to show up, then it's probably not going to be a good fit. Why bother? But there were other times in my life where I wasn't that way. I was like bending and contorting and not being really straight up front. And there's something that was very liberating and just being like, okay, here are the 5 things that I'm committing to myself. Yeah. And I'm not going to do it differently. And if I start to do it differently, I'm going to catch myself, because nothing else is more important than being in a empowered partnership than a disempowered one for me at that time, and still is.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I don't know.
How about for you, Will?
For me, it was kind of a different path to the same, place that we met, where the long relationship I was in, the 20-year marriage that Krista mentioned, was with a beautiful soul who had a very I guess I would say Buddhist standpoint about relationship. And we had a Buddhist couple therapist, and, the sort of approach was, well, if you're feeling something uncomfortable, it's not your partner's problem, it's your problem, and go back to the cushion. And it was sort of this anti-co-regulation model. It was like it wasn't a secure functioning model. And I had my 2 best guy friends were both in long-term marriages where they were working their asses off to achieve that secure functioning that we're talking about. And one of them was studying with Stan Tatkin, who, is sort of one of the big proponents of this style of relationship. And so I was reading Stan Tatkin's books, and I was watching my friends having these experiences, and I was like, I want that. And it might be, I think my Buddhist couple therapists and my partner both thought it was like a big fantasy that I was going to, that this is a real thing, that people depend on each other and they can trust each other, and like get soothed by each other and so on. But I just said to myself, you know what, it might be a big fantasy, but I'm going to go for it. And I need to find out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no way I'm going to feel good about my life if I don't go after this and try to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
And Jana, how about you? What were like when you found Mark, your Mark?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was very similar, right? It was like, okay, I'm going to be with someone who's going to elevate my life in such a way that we can both have a bigger impact on the world, that we can learn to love more, that we can discover what love is, right? It was like, right, there was no point at which I wanted to have a relationship where I wasn't growing or I wasn't becoming my best self, or where I couldn't do the work I want to do in the world, and where I didn't want to be with someone who didn't want that also, right? So yes, I feel like you have much more eloquent ways of saying it, but the sentiment was the same of, this has to be a relationship that has a purpose. I think for me, often the purpose has been growth, but then the growth allows me to be more in service in the work that I do in the world.
Right. Yeah. I love that. It makes sense knowing you and who you are. I'm so happy that you have what you have right now in your life with Mark. Yeah.
So, okay, agreements. Can we go back to, and you might need to fill in some gaps because I know they rely on purpose and all of that, but how do you talk about agreements? How did you create them together? Give us some tips or tools for that.
Great. I'll start. Let's see. So I had been working for a consulting firm that would go into companies and they were called practices also. I love the word practice. Okay. We refer to them as agreements, even though they are practice. But this company I was working for would bring these 5 agreements into companies, and that's how they would relate together. And so it was informed by that, which is called the collaborative way. And then some of our agreements were informed by like Stan Tatkin's work and Will's work out in the world, the things that Will brought to the table. It was kind of like a mixture of both of what we really felt was powerful inside of partnership and relationship. Yeah. And influenced by other people. And then there was a category of agreements that were created around our wounding. So because we were finding ourselves in a situation where I would get activated or Will would get activated, and we would realize that there was something that we could actually use an agreement to help heal whatever is underlying those activations.
So some of the agreements you came to before something would happen, and others you would have an experience and then think, oh, we could create an agreement here.
Yep, totally. Am I missing anything, Will, about how we did that?
No, I think you covered it well. I was just thinking about the 25th agreement that we made just the other day, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but we we found
I was after a ask long how stretch. Many there are. So there are 25 now. Okay.
Yeah. There have been 24 for what, like 7 years or something.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we were just talking about the 25th, which I can't remember what it was either. So it's obviously not stuck.
Oh, that's what you said, Will. So you can't remember what it is.
Yeah. Oh, it was around mindset. It was around mindset. Is really agreeing to like basically view our lives as this is for our success and having a positive orienting mindset towards the unfolding of our lives versus where we can get caught in, not understanding and getting frustrated and, thinking that the world is against us. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm working with that one right now myself.
Yeah. And again, like you were saying, which is the name of this podcast, which I love, practicing love. It's like, it's such a practice, and our agreements aren't about beating each other up when they're not practiced. It's about supporting each other to remember this is how we're orienting. Like 2 hours ago today, I was having a massive breakdown in my office. And Will comes in, and Will, you did such an amazing job of being with me in the way that we're talking about, you could have gotten very defensive. You could have stormed out. You could have been rigid. But these, why am I even bringing it up? But it's just like, we're practicing them with each other, and it's ongoing. And I don't feel like we ever master them. Although some of them I think are so ingrained inside of our partnership that to do something different would be very strange.
Right.
Like, wow, that's really not how Will behaves. I'm really curious what's going on for him right now.
Yeah. So Will, when you did this amazing job of walking into the office in the midst of Krista's breakdown, can you tell us a little bit about, what did you do, or where were you? I don't know if some people won't understand the language of where were you coming from, right? But it's like, what was the internal part of you, and then some of the external actions?
Well, maybe just a word of context, one sentence to kind of paint the picture. Yeah. We've been doing some restructuring in the organization that we started many years ago. And Krista's been stepping in and picking up some of the tasks that people handled who aren't with us anymore. And, she's finding out that there's a lot of chaos where there should be order in the system. And it's incredibly, frustrating and difficult to step into that. So, I was practicing in that moment this mindset agreement that Krista just mentioned of seeing how this moment is also on the way to our awakening or our unfolding or our best expression in the world. But it was a little bit challenging to be with the emotions that Krista was having, because there's a part of me that wants to go into shame, or it's my fault, or I did this to her, or I'm making her life difficult, or whatever. Yep. And so I found myself in a situation I often am in where there's a part of me that's having a difficult experience, and there's also the person in front of me who's having a difficult experience.
Yes,
and so
this is so
I kind of have to be with both at the same time. And it's kind of an interesting
straddle
moment. Yeah. Straddle. There's a writer, Milan Kundera, who wrote The Unbearable Lightness of Being. And I think it was in a different novel of his. I can't remember the name of it, but there's this moment where the person is playing chess like Bobby Fischer, and Bobby Fischer was famous for playing chess with, like, I think it was a computer and a Russian at the same time. And so that image comes into my head sometimes, where I'm like trying to be with the thing in me that's screaming, and the person in front of me is it's like a game of like,
they both take mastery in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. So
okay. So how did you in that moment, stay with her emotions as you were struggling inside of yourself?
Great question.
It's a really good question. I think it's so hard in the beginning of a relationship when you actually don't know this person in front of you, right? Yeah. That you don't know what their capacity is or where they're going to go with the dysregulation they're experiencing. They might go into yelling at you or blaming you or doing all those things.
And go away and never come back.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Walk out, slam the door.
Yeah.
But because, and we've only, as Krista said, we haven't even been married 6 years, but we've had a lot of reps where the consistency of showing up for the moment is so ingrained already that I'm not sitting there thinking, okay, well, this is it, and she's leaving, and I'm done,
or I'm leaving,
whatever, or I'm leaving. Yeah. Yeah. So but I just, for people who are at the beginning of a relationship, I just want to say, man, it is really hard to trust that.
It's vulnerable, very vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have some more of that ground or foundation to stand on. And it's still not easy, right? To be able to, I don't know, would you say it? I don't know if it's compartmentalizing, but there's a kind of way of, I know what that's like, right? To hold when I'm struggling and my partner's struggling or my kid is struggling. That's a big one where I practice. And to be able, there's like something that happens in my stomach where it's like I'm holding something, or maybe I'm finding the ground in my body beneath all of the turmoil and then listening to the turmoil out there. I mean, it does feel like it's acrobatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it helps me to think about the part of Krista that's clearly hurting and the part of me that's hurting as sort of members of the family, and it's almost like internal family systems, but there's also the other person's parts that are included in that. And sometimes we play around with that metaphor. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Dick Schwartz's work, but that kind of IFS model where we're both the parents of all of the younger parts of all of us. And it's not like, oh, you better go take care of your parts and I'll take care of mine. It's like they're all
right. Like you're each parents of each other's parts also.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been actually key in our partnership I remember back in the early days and us bringing parts work into our partnership is that I'm as responsible for Will's parts as he is, not more responsible, not less responsible, and vice versa. And that's actually been really helpful for us using it that way.
I could see that. Right. And because when I'm working with clients and in my own relationship, I often do, have people look at the person across from them and see, okay, can you see the part that's hurting? Can you see, right, underneath this reaction that's happening, underneath whatever's going on the surface, we can know a person deeper than that. And that's the place I think we often find compassion.
Absolutely. Totally. And then when our partner has the skill set to access that vulnerability and the one who's in pain versus the one who's screaming in her office like today.
Right.
If I had the capacity probably to drop in that moment and just be like, well, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I feel overwhelmed. Rather than be, a pretty loud voice and getting upset. I think that probably for you, Will, it would have been easier on some level to ride that out with me, I would imagine.
Definitely would have been easier. But it's rare for you to get that. I don't know what the right word is.
Upset or triggered or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if that was how most things, affected you, then, that would be a very different scenario versus like, okay, this is really an outlier for Krista. Yeah.
That's good context, right? That I think we get to develop more compassion for each other too, when we know that we're both trying, or when you have a sense, oh, my partner, really is doing his or her best to stay present, to stay grounded, to stay positive, all those things. And then in the moments where we lose it, there's more love available.
And that's where I really want to take another plug and stand for agreements. Because like any kind of new relationship, we come in with a habitual way of being in a relationship that we may or may not be aware of, but it was taught by our parents, it was taught by our culture, it was taught by our friendships growing up, that, the person across from us has been taught something likely very different than our way of doing things or addressing things or being. And then especially you add on top of that when things hit the fan, or when shit hits the fan, then it's really hard to work with each other. But if we have these agreements with each other, like one of my favorites, because it's been such a staple in our partnership, has been the agreement to abundantly repair.
Mm.
And what that means to us is that when there's a disconnection or a conflict, that we are committing to repair abundantly, and abundantly means that we're staying in the conversation and working it out until, like for me, what it means is I have a body shift and a body sense of I actually my body wants to get closer to Will's body.
Versus
it's not just like
pushing away, pulling away.
Versus pushing away, or even being like, okay, fine, we took care of it, it's fine, and we go our separate ways. Like, it's not even neutral, but it's like a positive versus, and we also know that for us, that for every rupture there's so much more to learn, and that we're stronger as a couple when we make it through the rupture. So the agreement to abundantly repair, like if I was screaming in my office today, which I was, and you didn't have the context, Will, of like, okay, we're gonna make it through this because that's what we do. And we both agreed to it before we got triggered, then it could be a really scary moment for anybody inside a partnership.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Do you have a favorite one, Will, as well? Or one of your favorites?
That might be my favorite one too. It's a little boring to copycat Krista on that, but
you can say what you like about it.
It might be worth underlining that we really look at these ruptures as reps in the gym, where you're lifting you're building the muscle of security with each other, and you can't get that, you can't earn that security without the rupture. And so
it's true.
So many of us, especially, and this was kind of my environment as a child, is you're white knuckling to try to not lose attunement or connection or fun or whatever's happening in the family, because repair is not going to happen, or nobody knows how to do it. And so I think, unfortunately, a lot of people grow up thinking, just not having enough exposure to what repair really feels like.
Yeah.
And so you lose that opportunity, and you end up kind of living in fear that there's going to be a big rupture that can't be repaired.
Repaired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, for those who are listening to this and they're thinking, yes, we want to create agreements. What do you suggest? How do they start? And, do you track them? Do you write them down? I imagine you can't just keep them in your head, because otherwise there's one person's perspective versus.
Oh, my internet is not connected. Yeah. One of the important parts is to have a mutual agreement about what it means. Because I could say orange and he could say orange, but then we come together and we're like, have different definitions of orange. So to really hash out, like, what does this mean to us, is important. So mutual understanding and mutual agreement. But then also the other thing I would say is, there were some really key ones, I would say, for our partnership that I would highly suggest that has been inspired by other people that we didn't create. And we have a free download to anybody who wants it. That's our top 10 agreements. And most of the ones that are like fundamental in there are in there.
Great.
So like they're as easy, but they're as easy as, but not oftenly practiced as, like, listening generously. Often we don't really practice listening generously, and often we don't even really know what that means to each other. Yeah. And so that was one thought that I had. What would you add to that?
Krista spoke to this a little bit earlier, but the other thing to do is to, like, we were talking about agreements that are tailored specifically to our individual developmental history or injuries that we have. So, for example, I used to come home from school, and my mom was very depressed, and she was in her room, and I didn't know if anyone was home, or, I had the feeling of like I was a burden because she was already burdened, and I didn't want to be more of a burden. And so it really helps me to have an agreement that takes the form of that we do hellos and goodbyes really well, like with a lot of generosity. And it also fit well for you because of the sudden death of Krista's partner that created a lot of worry about like,
right. What if I don't see you again?
Exactly.
What if this is the last time? Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So looking at like where in your partnership do you have those moments of wound or trigger, and what do you both need in that moment is another area to look. And
that's a beautiful way to put it, right? Where do you not feel understood, or where do you not feel safe, or what are those wounds that are showing up in the current moment in the relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say we in the beginning, did we write them down? I'm trying to think. They really got written down and in stone, so to speak, when we started to create our vows for our marriage, when we were getting ready to get married. And they really became super clear, and there was 24 of them, and they became our vows. That's what we spoke at our wedding.
Wow. When you got married, you had 24.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so this new 25th, for 6 years, they were 24 agreements. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to have a 25th come in.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like in this, we were talking a little bit about this before we hit the record button, when we were talking before with you, but there's this kind of heightened need for mindset, right? And right now, and practicing being grounded in our bodies and being present. And, there's just so much intensity and chaos and brutality going on. So we didn't realize, it was in the background, but it wasn't like a called out explicit agreement until it was. So it's also a living document, it's a thing to keep referring back to and updating.
Yeah. I love that. I talk sometimes with people about something like a user guide, like how do you know what your partner needs in a specific moment? What really helps if they're feeling down or they're feeling stressed or things like that. And all of these ways of getting to know each other and tracking what's that cycle where we go down and we, can we track the first moment of that and how I'm seeing you and, what I think you're doing to me and all of those things. And so I love that this form of agreements is a living document and that you're working with it and iterating and discovering, right? And if one doesn't work or if there's a problem or someone, can't quite get with the program in a way, then you're working with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually that means that we're not actually agreeing to that agreement when somebody's like missing it a lot or like, there's resistance that we haven't actually addressed that's in the way of us actually living into it, which is also really good information for us.
Yes. Very good information. And then I also love that when you have this document, it's not like one person policing the other. It's more, hey, this is what we, right? The art of we, this is what we agreed to.
Right. Absolutely. And it comes in handy in the midst of a conflict because, like, for example, I remember one time in the kitchen, we were having a big fight and I said to Krista, you listen very generously and I'm not getting the same kind of generous listening today.
And
that's a very kind way to say it.
It is very kind. I agree. And it kind of stops me in my tracks. I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm not doing that. What's going on with me? I do.
Versus if he had shamed you and been like, you're not listening to me. What's your problem? That's not inspiring.
No, not inspiring. And I would just get more defensive for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I was already sold before we started, but I'm even more sold on how important and how profound this can be for relationships. Maybe you could each just, as we're wrapping up, think of something, if there's anything that you haven't yet said that you want people to know or something you think would be helpful, what would it be? And do you want to start, Will?
Well, I like to remind people that, my own journey in relationship tells me that when you shoot for the stars, it sounds kind of corny to say that, but when you commit to following the dream of the hope that you can create the kind of relationship that really does support what we're talking about today, that you can do it. I think so many people live in the not knowing that possibility is real, and that it's a matter of creating it, as opposed to hoping that, if you just find the right person, it'll happen. It's like you have to create it with a co-creator.
Yes. Thank you.
I love that answer so much. It's really sweet. Yeah, I guess it would just be like, what are you willing to risk to get what you really stand for in partnership? And I think we're all at different points of risk in our lives. Like, some of us are like ready to risk everything, and some of us are like, yeah, I'm not so much willing to risk that right now. And I think the whole continuum of that is perfect and okay. I think it's a matter of really being in relationship with it. So we're making conscious choices. And inside of that, I think then we can make more decisions when we're more self-aware about how we're relating to what we're willing to do inside of partnership. So I would bring that piece too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a gorgeous example of love and conscious love, conscious relating. I've been asking myself the question recently, what would love do? And
I love that.
It just feels like it guides my heart. And I often suggest when I'm working with people to ask their partner, what would have you feel more loved right now? Right? How can I love you better? And I feel like you two are such examples of that. And, you're not sugarcoating it by saying like, we do this all the time and it's easy. You're honest and real.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the other thing, is that this kind of partnership isn't a walk in the park. It's a real commitment, and we work hard at it, and it's very rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I know you do.
It's the kind of work that has the reward versus the kind of work that just, drives you into the ground and there's nothing that you gain from it.
Yes. And if that's happening, then you might want to just question what kind of partnership you're in. And look at that.
Okay. Where can people get your list of the top 10 agreements?
They can go to our website, which is KristaVanderVeer.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Shayna, you are such an example of practicing love, and it's so lovely to be here with you and to be in this space and conversation with you. And I'm just looking forward to so many more. And thank you for showing us how to show up and how to practice love. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships, and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at ShaynaJamesCoaching.com/free. That's ShaynaJamesCoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.